Hello, Blue Jays, and welcome to The Nest Stories about Life After Manor College. I am your host, Kelly Pfeiffer, Vice President of Marketing Communications, and this is the best part of my day. My hope is that this podcast will encourage, inform, and inspire you, making you feel like at Manor College you belong here always. Before we get to today's guest, it is time for a segment of the show I like to call Did You Know? Today's fun fact, actually, was one that I personally did not know. And I've worked at the college here for almost 12 years. So I feel like I know quite a bit. But this one definitely got me. So for today's did you know that in the late 90s, Manor College offered distance learning programs that were broadcasted on WHYY Channel 12? That's right. In 1996, Manor College embraced distance learning by broadcasting some of its courses on WHYY, our local NPR station, Channel 12. These programs were specifically designed to cater to students who can't attend full time on campus. This is like early online learning, what we have today. So these inaugural courses offered was Introduction to Psychology, and it had an enrollment of 6 students. Due to its initial success, the televised courses became available to the entire student body just a year later. So each course would typically have about 26 hours long of lectures that were broadcasted twice a week throughout a typical semester, which is about 13 to 15 weeks. The lectures were aired on Channel 12 between 1 and 5 p.m., where students would record them, probably to a VHS. That's a throwback right there. Record them for later viewing. So I can and can't imagine this, like being on your TV, recording your class that then you'll watch back later on your TV again on a VHS. And then, maybe you make an assignment or you write something that you'll hand in for a grade. So interesting enough, these students that were in this televised course only had to come to campus 3 times for in the term of the semester, for orientation, for a midterm, and for the final exam. So this, it was innovative. This innovative approach kind of highlights how Manor was an early adopter of distance learning to try to reach a wider range of students and just really accommodate students and where they're at. I think it's kind of neat that today, almost 30 years later, we are doing kind of the same thing. Obviously, we're not broadcasting it on our local NPR station, but we do have a lot of hybrid, high flex, and distance learning where students can take online instruction. So the one that we utilize probably the most is high flex model, which is really students can attend in person. We also will record that in-person class where it can be streamed either live while it's happening or streamed for later. So it's recorded and put into we have a learning management system called Canvas. So while on campus, sometimes students can still go to class in person if they want. If they can't make it that day for whatever reason, they can watch it later. So just trying to be flexible because we understand obviously the life of a student is pretty busy and different than maybe what it was back in the day. Some of our examples of programs that have probably the most hybrid and high flex options include business management, early childhood education and child development, our criminal justice, public policy, and cybercrime programs. We also offer a program where you can either receive a laptop to use while you're a student, or you can loan a laptop from our library or some other ways that we have here. So definitely trying to always be flexible for our students since the 90s. So that's kind of today's Did You Know? Welcome back. Today we have a fantastic guest joining us who has deep roots from right here in our Philadelphia area. Our guest grew up in the charming town of Rockledge and spent their formative years at St. Cecilia's in Fox Chase before heading to Bishop McDevitt High School in Glenside. Their academic journey then led them to Manor College, where they pursued their passion in paralegal studies, earning an associate's degree in 1992. Their time at Manor laid a crucial foundation before they transferred to Holy Family University. Fast forward to today, and our guest is a successful entrepreneur, serving as the founder and CEO of their own independent title insurance company, H&H Settlement Services. We are thrilled to hear about her experiences and how her path through higher education and into the business world transpired. From the class of 1992, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Manor College alumni, Heather Hagerty. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Kelly, for having me.
Of course, of course. It's so wonderful to talk to you, and I'm really excited to hear your story. So, kind of take us back. How did you hear about Manor College, and how did you make that decision to attend for paralegal?
So I knew about Manor College as I grew up in Rockledge and the St. Basil's girls across the street. I always wanted to be them as I would drive by and then go to Manor. So I knew Manor just from growing up in Manor. Yes, around,
Nice.
yeah, around Fox Chase. And the second part of your question,
Yeah. How did you decide to attend?
deciding to attend. Okay. Uh, Really, my mother decided for me. A little lost when I was about 19. I had gone away to school and it was not for me.
Mm.
Definitely a homebody. And she really, to her credit, had the wonderful idea that I should go to Manor. And I did. And I never looked back. And it was honestly a really transformative moment in my life. And I don't know where I would have ended up had I not stepped foot into Manor.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I mean, mother knows best, right? I feel like that's a saying that's true, and sometimes your mom just knows what their child needs. So kudos to mom for picking that out. Yes, Rockledge is literally our backyard is Rockledge, so it would be hard to not know who we are. But growing up in Rockledge and Fox Chase and Basil's, we miss Basil's across the street. They closed a few years ago, and it was really sad and right now there's some things happening in the news around Toll Brothers is building some senior living condos over there, and that's
Mhm.
going to be happening kind of soon. But Basil's was a great school founded by the same group of
Exactly.
sisters who founded the college, so really a special place in all of our hearts.
Mhm.
um, so kind of take me back to what was your Manor experience like. What was campus like in the 90s, and kind of what how was it like for you to be a student?
So back then, I had it was only a 2-year college. So it was for me sort of like, okay, let's see if college is for me. It might have just been I didn't want to go away. And I will say it was a mostly commuter school at the time, though there were some foreign, exchange students for sure, much smaller than what it is now. But the reason I went into paralegal studies was, although I was actually thinking I was get a degree and then go to law school. That was sort of the trajectory in my mind. My father was going through a transition in his own job where the company was being sold, and he had talked about how he only deals with these paralegals. It was a very new thing at the time. So he thought, well, he said, if that's what you're thinking, why don't you try paralegal first, see if it's something you like at Manor. So that's what I did. I fell in love with it immediately. I would credit that to certainly the program run by Diane Pivar at the time. I was just so inspired by her. What she was doing, that whole program, the teachers that were associated were actual lawyers, and I wasn't sure. I loved, we had mock trials, we had research. It was like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But I found a nice group where we studied together. We really, we fought over internships together. We found our way. So that was my very overgeneralized experience at Manor in the paralegal program.
Yeah, that's great. I think so many I've talked to a handful of alumni who are from kind of the same
Mhm.
era that you were in paralegal, and they all of you guys kind of say the same thing. Diane Pivar was like a real pillar of strength for all of you and someone that you really leaned on and really like
Mhm.
led all of you in your those kind of like formative years. So it's really cool to hear that kind of over and over again, which means like it must be true. And it's good that you right away were like, "Oh, I really like this." So
Yeah.
what about paralegal did you like, and can you explain kind of what is a paralegal?
Sure. Oh, sure. So what I liked, and like you said about Diane, she was a woman. She was just, I could identify with, certainly, and inspire to what she certainly inspired me in that way. Um, a paralegal is a there's a legal assistant. I mean, back then you had legal secretaries. You had these stenographers. You had, so the paralegal is someone that works with the attorneys that mostly, um, if you're working in a law firm that is doing trial work or things like that, a lot of the paralegals, we did the legal research, and you could prepare, and then legal writing as well. I early on, that was sort of where I thought I was going, was down that path, having thinking I would be going to law school. um, the legal research piece, I really really liked that. Um, but I didn't end up going down that path, but that was the part I probably liked the most. I ended up having a teacher at Manor named Marshall Grainer, who, he said at the beginning of the year, he always picked a student that he would have come work at his law firm, as an intern. So that was a real estate law course,
Mhm.
and that's when it changed for me, that I was like, "Okay, yeah, real estate, that's what I wanna do." Like, real est I don't wanna be a realtor, I don't wanna be, but I like the contractual piece of real estate. It wasn't litigation, it wasn't as much research, but I really enjoyed the contract work, and Marshall was an excellent teacher. And I got picked to be his intern.
Right. Well, that certainly helps too to get that experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of what put that light bulb into you like, "Oh, actually I like real estate."
Yes.
Okay, so kind of explain then how have you transitioned from paralegal to then I believe you went to Holy Family. What did you go to Holy Family for?
Um, I went there for a four-year degree,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah.
I realized, at that point, I, had worked at Marshall's firm for a bit, and that was in Glenside. And then go backwards for a second. I did go for an internship in Center City while I was at Manor. I decided to work with Marshall instead, but I really liked the vibrancy of working in the city as a young person. So what I ended up doing is leaving Marshall's office, and I had worked with the attorney that ran a title company for him. And to this day, we're still friends.
Mm.
He's excellent. I've been very blessed to work with excellent attorneys, great mentors. And then I wanted to work in Center City, so I moved to a law firm in Center City. And that there was a requirement in that firm to have a four-year degree, in order to be on and the paralegal staff as well. So, right, and then around that time, they were sort of offering like paralegal certificates, kind of things like that. But
Mhm.
so and I wanted I was already on the path of like school, school, school. So I was like, let's just keep going. And
Right,
I'm
right.
so glad that I did. As hard as it was to work full time and go at night,
Mhm.
I know people have it much harder. I didn't have any children. I was young, but so I would go, to work in the day, and then at night go to Holy Family. I got a degree in psychology from there. The Don't ask me why. I can't even remember why. That was sort of
I think it's always good to understand how the brain
yeah,
works and the
right.
mind.
To this day, it
Certainly feels useful to me.
yeah.
Mhm.
And it was
Yeah.
I think maybe now that I just said that, I think it was, this law firm that I ended up working with, they gave you a Myers-Briggs test to
Oh, okay.
before
Yeah.
you were hired, to make sure, like, you fit with what attorney you were, like, it was very, like,
Right.
and I did find his philosophy and all of that very interesting.
Interesting.
Um, yeah. So I worked at that law firm, made, working my way through and up to be the head paralegal of about 18 paralegals.
Wow.
So I worked in Center City at 15th and Walnut for 16, about 15 years, I guess. And that's kind of my life made a change because then by that time I was married and had young children.
Mhm.
And you, so you can imagine, it was certainly a job that wasn't just 40 hours, you were
Yeah.
working a lot,
Mhm.
and I thought, okay, now I guess it's time to go, maybe I'll be a stay-at-home mom.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
lasted, I give credit to all the stay-at-home moms out there.
Always.
I lasted less than a week.
Oh my goodness. Hardest job in the world, right?
Most proud in the world. No, I love my children.
Mhm.
The I was actually offered an opportunity to open the law firm I worked at was specialized in corporate relocation, which is
Mm.
very real estate heavy. That we also they also had a title company which I was involved in. I worked more on the law firm side, but certainly with the title company at the time. So when I left, it was not for anything other than personal reasons than to sort of I also had to travel a lot.
Mhm.
So took a break, which was nice. And then was able to start a title company for a local real estate office. They asked if I would do that for them. While I was just to, either consult with them and do it. I said I would absolutely do that, but I just didn't want to work there full time. But then that sort of got my entrepreneur bug going a little, I have to admit.
Yeah.
I was, started that company, hired for that company. Um, and to this day, that company, well, it doesn't, that title company is no longer in existence, but the client that runs it is a client of mine now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that led to, um, me then expanding and going on my own. I started to build a client base, had a reputation from the law firm I worked at, had people that were coming to me from that, like, hey, I hear you're doing this thing, and so you think, oh, maybe if I'll just have this little thing and see how it goes. My
Yeah.
husband was working, so I was, and then it turned into, by that time, it was like 2008, 2009. And my husband, there was a real estate, recession, as we all know.
Mhm.
And he was looking at being laid off. And on the flip side, the title company I ran and was a partner in was flourishing because we were doing all these refinances. So my husband ended up joining us. And then the trajectory from there was because of that, we had our own H&H Settlement Services, which is still in here today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's so cool.
Rambling.
No, no, I love it. I love
You
hearing
know?
kind of the process of how it all became and the timeline and how you were trying to take a little break to
Yeah.
focus on, like, motherhood and how the passion just stirred up inside you and opportunities came and you just took
Yeah.
them.
I
I
did,
mean,
and I took him with the support of my family, of course. And I thought, and it did work out very well in that I opened the company in Glenside. We lived in Glenside, so my sons went to St. Luke's here in Glenside, and I
yep.
was able to be right there, so I could be
Yeah.
available, and
Yeah.
and so that was really a special time. They
Of
could walk
course.
through our office after school, and
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
part of it. It was fun.
Right, right, they're a part of it, it's a family business, so the kids are in it whether whether they wanna be or not, but I
Right.
think what a cool thing for them to see,
Mhm.
from their mom, mom's doing this and that's, I think they might I don't know if they're old enough now to reflect back on that, but I'm sure at some point they will and will be able to
Yeah,
kind of garner something from that. I think that's really special that you were able to do that, and
yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, well, that's
Really, I
so
have to say it all started because of Manor. I mean, it really did. I just had, such a great experience, and it gave me the confidence, I think, that I was like, "Oh, I can do okay, I get it. I can do this." Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love hearing that, and I love that you're able to see kind of that thread line back to Manor and feeling that confidence. That's so important. I think for every college student, regardless of when you come to Manor and what year, what decade. I mean, building your confidence in college is so imperative to then you going out into a career, or you going out into starting a family or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Confidence is key to any of those
Yeah.
successes. So that's really good to hear. So something interesting about you, Heather, is that your son actually attends Manor now.
Yeah.
Amen. Can you talk a little bit about kind of as a parent now? What has that experience been like seeing your kids through the college process and kind of just
Mhm.
what's the perspective on that?
Well, mom knows best, as we talked about. So,
Yep.
and Eamon graduated from Roman Catholic in Center City, and through COVID, that was in COVID time,
Mm,
and so he was one of those COVID junior seniors that just didn't have really school, kind
yeah,
of the best parts of school, which is the proms and the graduations and all those things. So he was accepted to Bloomsburg University. He went off to Bloomsburg. COVID, we thought, had let up, and then it didn't. They closed Bloomsburg, basically first they closed the gym, they closed the cafeteria, and then he was basically in his room.
yeah.
So we were like, it was just not a good place to be,
Mhm,
mentally, and,
mhm.
so he came home, and that was totally fine. I know that path, so as we were trying to figure things out with him together, and I could see him floundering a bit, my mother's voice came to me, and
Right.
she had passed away at the time. But I said, Eamon, I was there, and my mother said to me, I think that you should give this school a try. And, nothing against the community colleges or anything, but if you don't have, I feel like if you didn't have a specific reason you're going, it's kind of harder to feel. And I
Mhm,
knew that at Manor, he wouldn't be able to hide. He wouldn't be able to,
mhm,
he would, they would take care of him.
mhm, mhm.
And it's so funny, Kelly, because he came home. I don't know if we'll, but I can tell this. I I I saw, like, he was like, "Mom, I just had this class, and, like, oh my god, I can't believe it. I got, like, a 93." And, like, I was like, I wanted to, like, burst. I was like, "Oh,"
Aw,
I'm like, "That's it.
that's
That's
confidence right there. He's getting
yeah,
confidence, what you're talking
exactly.
about.
That's the Manor thing. You got it." And then,
Yeah.
he hasn't looked back. He's,
That's good.
yeah, he's a sports management major. Again, has great professors, great teachers, great community, and it's really nice to see him excelling. You
Oh,
know,
how cool. I love that so much. Amen. We're cheering you on, bud. I think it's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Um,
And he can graduate with his bachelor's, so that's nice too.
Yeah, yeah, and he's gonna hopefully get that bachelor's
Yeah.
degree, and that's so cool. Whenever we have families who they have multiple generations who come through the college, we call that a legacy family. So
Oh,
it's really cool that you guys are a legacy family.
yeah.
Um, and I love that it kind of goes back to mother knows best. I love that. Personally, as a mom, I'm like, yes, that is
Yes.
so true. That is so true. So
Uh-huh.
Heather, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about you are going to be kind of in a special role coming up in a few weeks. We have our 2025 commencement ceremony happening in the middle of May, and you are going to be this year's alumni speaker.
Oh.
How do you feel about that, and kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Um, how I feel about it is certainly honored. I really appreciate that. It yeah, it just really, it's unbelievable to me. I just think of myself at 20 years old, and, here I am stepping into Manor in this way, and it's a little overwhelming to think about, the your life.
Sure. Yeah.
And stepping the last time I was at Manor, on that kind of stage was when I graduated, and then to come back, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I
Have
think
you
it's
there,
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I think I can't wait to hear your words of inspiration for our students. I think there's always something so special. We always have a commencement speaker, and then we
Uh-huh.
have our alumni speaker. And I personally love the alumni speaker because I just feel like they get it. They've been there in your physical shoes. They totally have like that same perspective. And I think also the students they see that and they're like, oh wow, like this person, they were me X
Mhm.
number of years ago. And that connection that you just have and the bond that you have with the students, even if you don't talk to them, even if you don't know them, there's always
Mhm.
that like, "Oh, I went to Manor, you went to Manor." It's just that,
Yeah.
it's so cool to have that.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, of course. We're looking forward to having you. I think it's going to be really, really a nice day. So,
Mhm.
Heather, as we kind of wrap up, I want to ask you one last question. What advice would you have for current students as they are in their college journey? A lot of our students are working as they go to school. A lot of our students also are caregivers. I would
Mhm.
say Manor students today, they are busy, they
Mhm.
need flexibility, and school is not their only thing
Mhm.
going on. It's really not. Kinda gone are the days of like, "Oh, I'm a college student and, like, that's all I do." Now it's, I work, I take care of people, I got other stuff going on. So what would your advice be for our students?
Well, it's certainly in those scenarios, I would say that it's kind of easy to give up on yourself if you have all that going on. You're working, you're taking care of, probably parents, children, community. Um, don't give up on yourself. Just try if you can to keep going because it's just you're going to feel awesome when you accomplish that goal. I would say the other thing that I've learned, certainly through careers and schools, is I just have always found, and even with our own staff, surround yourself with good people, like work with good people, and trust me, you'll have jobs that are offering you all kinds of money, but if in your gut you feel like it's not good people or it's not good, like I just have learned so much because I decided to take the path of working with people that were good people, great mentors, helped my own growth and success. So I really attribute a lot of that to the coworkers I've had, the bosses I've had, and in turn, I hope I give that back to our own staff.
Yeah, that's great. I love what you said about just being surrounded by good people. I think that's something that obviously we strive to be here at the college. Like we want to be that support to our students so that
Mhm.
way they go out into society and kind of pay it forward in that sense. So thank you so much as an alumni for doing that for the community out there. We certainly are really proud of you and all that you've done. And just
Thank
thank you for today, spending some time with me and sharing your story. I hope it was encouraging and inspiring for our listeners. I'm sure it was, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks here on graduation day.
thank you so much, Kelly, for this time.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, listen and subscribe on Spotify or YouTube. Stay up to date with all new episodes by following Manor College at Manor College on Instagram. And that's a wrap on another episode of The Nest, stories about life after Manor College. Remember, Blue Jays, you belong here always.